No movie is safe, not even the one, the only American Psycho. Yeah, that's right, they are remaking American Psycho, and that is not even the worst part. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button to never miss a video. We have daily film content, including movie reviews, movie news, and so much more. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button to never miss a video. So the fact that they're remaking this movie is not even the worst news. The fact they are talking about doing a gender swap and remaking this movie makes it even more like questionable on what are they thinking. Now, I was originally read this and wrote a piece on it, which you can find at Film School, 4-time Film School Dropout.blog. And as I was writing this, I'm not gonna lie, I was really irritated by this. Just the thought of them remaking this movie, because it's not that old. It came out in 2000. Yeah, it's quarter of a century old, but that's not that old in consideration in how long it used to take movies to be remade, like how the time length between them. Especially one as iconic as American Psycho. Christian Bale's performance, chef's kiss. Now, they are talking about having Margaret Robbie play the Patrick Bateman character and doing a gender swap. Now, at first, I was a little irritated, but as I was reading the article, I thought to myself, you know what? That's actually not a bad idea. She would play the hell out of a serial killer, VP Mongol, climbing the corporate ladder and just kind of doing all that. We've seen her as Harley Quinn. We've seen her in vastly different roles, like I, Tanya. We've even seen her play the more elegant roles and the more roles and such, like Wolf of Wall Street, Big Bold Beautiful Journey. Like, she definitely has range, and I think she could pull that character off. And honestly, they had 2 other actors previously attached to the project. It's been in the works for quite some time now, with the director of Challengers and After the Hunt, taking the helm of this new remake. He was talking, I believe it was either Hollywood Reporter or Deadline. I can't remember which one he was talking to or did an interview with. And he was saying how, he's really excited about making this movie and he wants to do a complete twist of the original source material. Now, doing a gender swap definitely would be a huge twist. And given the fact that it was Austin Butler and Patrick Schwarzenegger, who was originally in talks or attached to play Patrick Bateman in this remake, I think Margaret Robbie would be the better choice out of the 3 of them, and I think she would bring the most to the role. And again, at first I was really irritated by this, but the more I was thinking about it and kind of like typing up my article and really talking about it, I kind of convinced myself that I think this would be a good idea. Because if you had it set in the late 2010s, and according to Google and AI Google, that's the height of when females were getting a more competitive or more equal right in the workforce, taking a bigger chunk of upper management and exec level positions, and kind of balancing out the equality amongst the sexes. And so to have the film set in like 2010 era, with Margaret Robbie being the star character and having that same like undertone, it being materialistic, self-absorbed, kind of assholes who don't live in reality, which is what the original book was about. The author actually said he just moved to New York and he thought everybody was self-absorbed and completely out of touch with reality. And you had this entire, again, the 80s was very much that Wolf of Wall Street, Gordon Gekko, Wall Street, greed is good type attitude. And I think kind of having it set in that 2010 post-era where you kind of twist the story out a little bit, where it's less greed is good, but more of, a woman exec trying to prove herself and climb the corporate ladder and compete with the, males and their egos, I think would kind of really play a different edge to the story, and it gives you the same story, slightly different concept with a very much different outlook. And again, I think she would kill that role. But the question is, though, do we need it? And I'm going to say no, we really don't need another remake. I mean, would it be? I definitely would pay and see it, but do we actually need it? Now, that's been an argument for times. Well, I mean, how long? This has been an argument going on for quite some time now about remakes, as all the studios don't produce anymore. There's no original content. And I was actually talking about one of the articles I wrote, again, on 4-time Film School Dropout.blog, that I was writing some articles on that and, covering, some of your hottest stories coming out, because they're doing a remake of also Miami Vice, which Austin Butler's actually talks to Michael B. Jordan. And, I actually looked the numbers up. So far in 2025, the top 10 films, 9 of the top 10 films were all remakes, reboots, or sequels. Not a single original story. Oh, I'm sorry, only one. There was only one in the top 10 highest grossing films of the year that was an original concept. Everything else was off existing IPs. So obviously, the people online complaining about not having original content and all the studios want to do is produce, remakes, reboots, sequels, and whatever, and just kind of milk IPs, that the people in the audience, the people who are paying with their wallet, letting their wallet do the talking, is saying that they want to see those familiar stories. So, am I surprised that this movie is in the talks of being rebooted yet again? No, I'm really not. I mean, the fact that it has been rebooted earlier is actually a little more surprising. I mean, I guess 25 years isn't that long. It was certainly not that long a period. I mean, looking back on film history, you have, it's about that many. Original Family Opera, 1925. You had the first remake in 1946. Star is Born was like 1928, I think, or 1932 or something like that. And then the first remake, I think, was in the 50s. And there was a remake again in the 70s with Barbra Streisand, and then they remade it again in like 2010. I'm sorry, 2000. So it was 2015? I don't know. They remade it again in like 2015 or 16 or something like that. Bradley Cooper. So again, the remakes are always there. Generally, it's a little much stretched out. So we are kind of hitting that point where it's due for a remake in the time of film history. But again, in the era of remakes, we got 3 Spider-Mans in the course of like 15 years. Same thing with Batman. We had 4 different Batmans in the course of 5 years. Or not that bad, but you know what I mean. So the fact that these remakes are getting made and this film is going to be probably greenlit and made and probably releasing I'm going to guess 2027, based upon the article's information. I'm not really that surprised. Again, we're looking at a time when remakes, reboots, and sequels are still dominating the box office. So with that being said, what are your thoughts? Are you excited to see this movie? Will you see this movie? Comment below. Let me know.